Welcome to Portland Industry Insider, our monthly sit down with a key player in the acting industry here in town. Our hope here is that we're going to provide you with some information that make you more successful as an actor in the industry, and if we word our questions right, maybe we'll get a little inside information as well.
You can count on it.
Okay. He said he was going to be a wise guy, and he's proven that to be true. I was going to say something nice about him to introduce him, but I'm just going to say, here's Dennis Troutman.
You can just say my name.
Option Model and Media.
Good to see you, brother. Thanks for having me down here.
Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. We've known each other for a while, as both as a photographer and as the parent of an actor. So, but I don't really know that much about you in terms of the path you took to become the Dennis Troutman of Option Model and Media. So tell me just a little bit about yourself and how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
Wow, it was a pretty indirect path. My mother was actually an agent for years and years and years in the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast in general, and so I just kind of grew up in that environment. Didn't really have any interest in the arts whatsoever. I was more of an athlete and a troublemaker, and it wasn't until I turned 17, 18, and I had been a child actor for years, by default of growing up in an agency, but didn't really have any proclivity towards it. And then 17, 18, 19 rolls around and didn't have much of an education, barely squeaked through high school, and had to figure out, okay, what trade am I going to pursue? And because I'd kind of grown up in front of cameras and whatnot, and I was comfortable and was something I enjoyed doing, then I decided to make that my trade.
Sure. And
so I became a screen actor. And trained and worked as an actor for years and years and years. And then there was an agency in town, Option Model Management. They were a modeling agency, and I'd known the owners for years. They had actually worked in my mom's agency when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
And in 2010, they decided they wanted to become a full-service agency with an on-camera division. And so at the end of 2009, 2010, that's when I came on board. We're at about 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so that's how I kind of found my way to being an agent.
Got you. What are the changes you've seen in the industry in general, and in Portland specific, over the course of the 10 years you've been doing this?
You know, it's digital. It's kind of part of the digital revolution. Everything used to be manual, and everything used to be hard copies and messengers. Submissions weren't digital, images weren't digital, nothing was digital. I think that's the biggest change, is that now, you know, you still as an actor, you know, it's the expectation that you're going to take a physical headshot and resume to every audition. But for the most part, everything is digital. There's really no physical media with it. I think that's probably the biggest change.
Yeah. Well, and how that translates for actors, if I'm reading it correctly, is it's a matter of speed.
Definitely.
Right, because if you're not sending hard copies by messenger, which takes a day or two or whatever it takes, and you know, I remember looking at videos of casting directors, like they actually have the stack,
exactly right.
right?
Yeah.
So
actually, the turnover's a heck of a lot quicker now.
Right.
Absolutely, it's instantaneous.
Yeah, where you might have had a few days to prepare, now you have a few hours to prepare.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you coach your talent to be better prepared faster, because it's a highly competitive industry and it moves like that?
You know, I don't know that their turnaround has really been affected as much.
Okay.
I think the biggest effect is on the agency side. Whereas we, you know, would need a day or two to put a submission together, put some auditions together. We no longer have that. We have to move a lot faster now.
Okay.
I suppose the turnaround for the actors is a little bit quicker as well, but they still have, you know, kind of a similar timeline.
Okay.
As far as when they get a notification from us, they have either an audition or when we reach out for an availability check.
What as a agent/manager, is that an accurate?
I think every agent outside of large markets like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, we're all agents and managers and publicists and counselors and
therapists.
Yeah, therapists.
Right,
exactly.
And you always answer the phone with plenty of therapy whenever necessary.
Yeah.
So, what do you bring to the table to help them deal with to train them to
Anything they need.
Yeah.
Coaching, accountability, helping them with their accountability, points and checklists, and making sure that they're staying on top of their business and giving them pointers and letting them know specifically what it is we need to help be more competitive for them and to help them be more competitive out there in the audition or on the job.
Talk to me about social media, because I hear different opinions depending on who I talk to, that for a young actor social media is everything, and for a young actor social media is nothing.
I'm a little bit more of a curmudgeon that way. I'm not really much of a social media guy.
Okay.
But I also kind of have to remove myself from that and see where the value is for the actor and for the agency and for the industry as a whole. I think there's absolutely value in it. But I think that there are also drawbacks as well.
Okay.
I think it has created, a lot of envy. It's created, I don't want to say paranoia, but on the other hand, it also can help create a little bit more urgency and a little bit more professionalism in regards to how people present themselves.
Do you find that there are people falling into the trap of putting more energy into their brand and less energy into their craft? And how do you?
I think so.
How do you gently tell somebody, hey, dude, I love the 4 Instagram posts you're doing every day, but when you're in the room.
The likes are great, but you could really benefit from a scene study workshop, or your audition technique is a little soft. Maybe don't worry so much about the Instagram likes and the Twitters and the Facebook stuff, and find a good workshop or connect with some fellow actors and do a reading.
And that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Is there a
There's this weird misconception that actors need permission to do their craft, to exercise their craft, or to compete, or to do whatever. And yeah, at a certain level and at the professional level, absolutely. But there's absolutely no fee for getting together and doing Glengarry Glen Ross with 5 of your buddies.
You want to quote that right now, don't you?
No, that's just an example of what we used to do back in the day. We actually, we would just get together and we would do like Mammoth, or we would find something and just do it for the sake of doing it.
You still want to quote that? I can tell. You told me you're a troublemaker and that I would have to.
I can't quote stuff?
No, you told me you're.
We're gonna have to cut that out.
You told me you're a troublemaker, and we may have to edit.
I am absolutely a troublemaker.
And of course, he says Mammoth, and then the next thing you know.
Sorry.
He wants to quote Glengarry Glen Ross.
I'll have to mind that. Sorry about that.
I don't want to. So it's good to be out doing no pay stuff.
Depends.
Depends.
I mean, depends on what the no pay stuff is. Is it something that could be paid? Is it something that you could at least get a gas stipend? Is it something where you could get something? As opposed to just being taken advantage of, because I think that happens a lot as well. Okay. And that's not to say that there's not legitimate independent productions, especially in the indie film scene, where there is no pay. It's just people coming together to try and make something awesome, and there's validity to that, and there's honor in that, absolutely. But I think there's also situations where there is probably money that can be found, and that's our job as agents, to help find that money.
Right.
Whether it's some gas money or some kind of a daily stipend or something.
So you're encouraging your talent to use you as a resource for. So I could call up. I'm an actor, and someone says, "Hey, I'm doing this independent film, and it's no pay, and whatever." We all know how that sounds.
Yeah.
I can call you up and say, "Hey, they asked me about this. What do you think?"
Absolutely.
Or, yay or nay, or.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time having those conversations, and that's where you kind of get into the coaching. And the mentoring and kind of the manager aspect of being an agent. All those lines are so blurred now. Even in large markets, they're fairly blurred. Managers act as agents now, which is really weird. Back in the 1800s when I was an actor, your agent had a very specific purpose and a specific duty and a specific service they provided your agent. Another specific service, and it's kind of a blurry line now. Managers act as agents, and they're the ones that are getting you auditions. A lot of actors don't have an agent; they just have a manager that acts as their agent.
Right.
And so, even in large markets, those lines are a little bit blurred. And in a small market like the Pacific Northwest, they're absolutely blurred. They have to be.
Right, because it's not cost effective.
You're not going to have a publicist, an entertainment attorney, and a manager, and an agent in Portland or Seattle or any other small market.
Yeah, and you have to be making some pretty good money for people to pay all those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
To pay that kind of team.
Yeah.
So digital and speed is what has changed about the industry. What's that one core thing that actors absolutely have to have to be successful?
That's a really good question.
And it's always been there since the 1800s
Yeah,
when you were a young actor.
That's exactly right. In the prospecting days.
The horse and buggy, you had to
exactly
take the
right.
horse and buggy to the audition.
You know, I think different people are probably going to have a really different opinion about this. I have a pretty strong opinion that the most effective and important piece of marketing that any actor can have is a great headshot. I think you are so much better served having one fantastic all-purpose headshot than you are having 8 mediocre headshots and a half-assed reel and, you know, kind of just mediocre materials, but you got a lot. And you got a website, and you got, you know, Twitter likes and Insta feeds and things like that. I think the most effective piece of marketing is just that one great headshot. I represent actors who just have one terrific headshot, and it serves them so well. And, you know, as opposed to, you know, maybe having a lot of marketing materials that aren't as effective. That's the single most important.
So my question, and this is a legitimate question, this isn't we haven't talked about this in advance. Oh, hey, promote me. That's a legitimate question. What does that headshot look like?
It can be different for everybody. It really kind of depends on the subject and the actor. You know, because the Pacific Northwest traditionally has been, will likely continue to be what's known as a lifestyle market, goods and services.
Right.
A fantastic commercial headshot is a really, really great tool.
Right.
That can serve you theatrically. That can serve you episodic as well. But because the bulk of what we do is in the commercial sector, having that great commercial shot is really, really helpful.
And I tell people that, for better or worse, Portland is generally a smiley town because commercial is where the work is. Generally, you know. And if somebody wants you to look grim, they can always request a picture of you that looks grim, or they can take that snapshot in the room, or
But for the most part, all of the actors, you know, they're being submitted through either a casting frontier or a casting networks, and those profiles typically have one image and a really well fleshed out profile, hopefully. But that's what the casting directors are seeing, and for, you know, their larger projects, you know, they're cycling through hundreds and hundreds of submissions per role. So they're not really going to dig into what's this person's look and what's this person's look and where's the grim look and where's the commercial look. It's just they're seeing that one headshot and then doing that hundreds and hundreds of times to decide who is they want to bring in for an audition.
Sure. Casting director, a theatrical casting director said to me one time, he said, beyond knowing that you have brown hair and brown eyes and your skin complexion is this, what I really want to know, because I'm going to, if I'm looking for a Hispanic woman and you're blonde hair and blue eyed, clearly you're not going to be someone I'm looking at. So beyond seeing basically what you look like, what I really want to know is if I want to spend that much time with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And generally that smile, you know, that your basic who you are personality.
I think that goes a long way, especially in a market like this. And as you put it, kind of a smiley market. Charisma and enthusiasm goes such a long way. And I feel like that's kind of it's kind of our brand, or one of our brands is the enthusiasm for the client that we show the client, and the enthusiasm that we show the actors in getting the opportunity to work with them and help create, you know, affluence and opportunities for them. I just think enthusiasm really goes a long way. I really do.
I would say that if part of my introduction to you would be one of the best known and most well liked agents in town would be you.
No.
That's my introduction to you. But it really is to me, and this is not to aggrandize you, but this is something that's useful for actors, is that when I work with you, in whatever capacity I work with you, I know that I'm going to hear enthusiasm, and I know I'm going to get communication right away. And those are the two things that I can count on from you, and to me, that translates to actors. If an actor does the same thing, they're going to increase their odds of being successful 100-fold relative to those who are like, yeah, well, you know, I got to do this and I got to do that, and you know.
Right, like you're doing a favor for somebody, or Well, I'm humbled by that. Thank you. That's awesome.
So, for people who are watching this, I come across a lot of moms or acting studio people who are kind of just getting into the industry. They're dipping their toe because the kid loves to act, or he's funny at the kitchen table, or whatever the case may be. And then I say, well, it's not always what you expect it to be. So from the perspective of an agent, what should new actors expect? What are the appropriate expectations versus their misconceptions when it comes to what you do for them? We've gotten into a little bit into I'm a coach and I'm this and that and the other thing, but
I think one of the biggest misconceptions for an actor, old or young, that maybe doesn't have a lot of experience in the industry, is that we are the ones who decide who gets opportunities and who doesn't. Mm-hmm. I'll have conversations with actors, and they're under the misconception that we are the ones who decide who gets the audition and who doesn't. That's not our job. We don't get to make that choice. There are certain jobs that are a little bit unique in direct bookings with clients where we present, the people that are appropriate for those roles. But for the most part, especially when it comes to audition-based opportunities, we're presenting options and casting directors are selecting who it is they want to see. It's not our call. Mm-hmm. So I suppose that's a misconception. Another one would be, that we're miracle workers, that we can just kind of snap our fingers and make something happen.
Like I'm signed, now I'm signed, now I'm going to be a star.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, she just loves Disney, and I gotta get her with an agency.
The expectation is we're going to hand deliver you a job, and of course we're able to do that occasionally, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I think that's a misconception.
Right.
Yeah.
What I say is, the first thing you ought to do is learn how to be an actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't say that in a condescending kind of way, but if you really want to know the best way to be successful, learn how to be an actor.
Yeah, if you're a grown adult and you wake up one day and decide you want to be an actor, the first thing to do isn't to go out and get an agent.
Exactly.
You want to research it. You can find anything on a website that starts with G. You can do research. You can get books from the library, and then eventually maybe find a good class. And there's lots of different really, really good classes. That's the first step. Not going out and buying professional headshots, not to discredit what you do or the great work that you do.
Everybody needs headshots.
But that's not the first step.
I want to make sure everybody knows
that's where you get to. That's where you get to after
Dennis, we talked about this. We put this on the question list.
I heard those words coming out of my mouth, and I felt so bad. So sorry. But no, you kind of immerse yourself in it a little bit. Research, go online, find stuff, read books. Collaborate and connect with other people. Right. Get into a class, and then if it's something that really fits, then at that point you want to go out and then
you're possessed to do it to the point where you have the resiliency that you need in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one thing that I say to moms of kids, because they've done school plays, or they've done this, or they've done this, or with community theater, whatever the case is. And I said, the one thing that this will do for your child, if your child is truly invested in this and truly wants to do this, the one thing I can guarantee, I can't guarantee that they're going to get roles or be famous, but I guarantee that they will learn how to deal with rejection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unlike any other kid who's on the playground.
Yeah, it's a business of rejection. It really is. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
And it's persistence, and that's where I think enthusiasm really goes a long way.
Enthusiasm
and charisma and character and Yeah. And don't wait for something to be handed to you. I mean, there's lots of things that you have to go out and audition for and go through the process of maybe eventually booking something. But you don't need permission to get together and do readings, or you don't need permission to collaborate with classmates or even put together a short.
Right.
I mean, you can put it together a short, especially in the digital age. You could write 7 pages of 2 people on a park bench and shoot it for $100.
Yep.
If you really need something to do,
right.
You don't need permission.
And you can
just do something.
Distribute it on YouTube. And
yes.
Yeah.
And if it sucks, do better next time. And then do it again.
Exactly. Until he doesn't suck anymore.
Until you do something that's really, really good and you get noticed for, and it feeds you and it charges up your battery and
you want to do more.
Yeah, and probably informs all the other aspects of your acting career.
I was in a bookstore in Austin, Texas several years back, and Jason Segel was there. And he was actually hyping a kid's book that he had written, which I had no idea about. And we're so far away from him, we can't even see him, but we can hear what he's saying. He said, after Freaks and Geeks, when I was like this big deal. He said, I couldn't get arrested in LA.
Really?
No one would hire me.
Interesting.
And finally someone said, if no one's going to hire you, then maybe you ought to make your own stuff.
Yeah. And then he goes and writes these brilliant screenplays and puts together and produces these amazing films.
And there you have it.
Yeah.
But it was all driven by the same thing that we're just talking about. So if it's good enough for Jason Segel, it's probably good enough for
Probably
good enough for me.
Yeah, good enough for me.
What are you excited for that's coming up this spring in I mean,
Gosh.
You can give us inside information.
No, you know, I don't have any.
Okay.
All
right, well, then we're done
honestly,
here. That's a wrap. So.
You know, I don't, there's a lot, and I think this is where social media does a real disservice to this industry, is there's lots of rumors and you hear lots of things, and my philosophy is until I get a breakdown from a casting director, it's not real, it's not tangible, it's just talk, it's in the ether, but once I see that breakdown come from one of our casting directors, then I know, yes, that project is actually happening and we're actually going to work on that. As far as what's coming up in the spring, you know, I really don't know. I just don't know. I've heard things, but I don't really put a lot of stock into it until I know that it's actually a reality. I'm looking forward to another great year, you know, for our business. And I'm looking forward to, you know, finding new relationships and working and coaching and developing, but nothing really specific.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm excited for, it feels like a lot of the work that has been done by people in the industry, I don't necessarily count myself as you know, I'm talking about acting studios and actors and agencies and those people. It feels like the reputation of Portland incrementally continues to build a little bit over time.
It's always been a really well-respected region, and it's always been a region, you know, prior to this massive influx of population in the last 5 to 7 years, it's always had a deep acting pool. It's always been a really well-respected market, but in, you know, 2009 when TNT brought Leverage here, and things really started to pick up and accelerate at a really fast pace. And then we had this kind of influx and somewhat of an overpopulation of actors from other markets. It's just continued to tick up and up and up, absolutely.
Yeah. You're one of my favorite people in the industry. Your enthusiasm, your humility.
Thank you.
I truly appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
And it's great having you here. I always enjoy talking to you, so thanks for coming in.
Likewise. Thanks,
All right,
Michael.
man. Thank you.